Hey, welcome back. Today we're gonna be doing chocolate buttermilk brownies. So get your ingredients ready. And I'm gonna be using my stand-up mixer, but if you have a handheld mixer or you have a really strong arm and you're extremely confident that you can make this on your own, I completely support you. So if you miss any step, just rewind the video, and if you have any questions, let me know. Ready to start? What we're going to be using today is a whisk, a silicone spatula, a 13 by 9 inch pan, our liquid measuring cups and our liquid measuring teaspoons if you have one, our dry teaspoons and cups, a saucepan, and a medium bowl. First, we're going to grease our pan. So as I've done it before, I'm gonna show you how I do it, but if you have the spray-on grease, then it'll be much easier for you. Okay, and make sure that you don't miss any little spots so that it doesn't stick later. In the medium bowl, we're going to be mixing some of our dry ingredients, starting with the flour. So 2 cups of flour, and we're going to be measuring them, as always, sticking the entire cup inside the container and making sure that is the exact measurement to the brim. Scrape any excess, because remember that baking is a science. Now let's measure our 2 cups of sugar. So I'm going to struggle again a little bit measuring this since I cannot stick the cup inside the container, but maybe by next time I will have my own sugar container. Now we're going to be measuring the baking soda. So we can put our cups away and bring our measuring teaspoons. We're going to be measuring 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So let me look for the teaspoon, and there it is. 1 teaspoon. And in it goes with the sugar and the flour. And now we're gonna put our baking soda away, and the last ingredient we're gonna put in here is the 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So we get our little 1/4 measuring teaspoon right there, the smallest one, 1/4, and put in the salt. Now let's get our whisk out, and we're going to be mixing it all in so that all the ingredients that we put in here are evenly distributed or mixed. Now it's time for the saucepan. So in our saucepan, we're going to be putting the butter, cocoa powder, and water. Starting with the butter, it should be 1 cup of butter, and if you check the measurements that are normally on there, each bar is half a cup. So we're going to be using both of these to make the cup. Next up is the water. So measure 1 cup of water and put it in our saucepan with the butter. And last but not least, the cocoa powder. We're going to be measuring 1/3 of a cup, third right there, of a cup of cocoa powder. You can use unsweetened cocoa powder, preferably so that it's lower in sugar, but if you have any regular one, it should do the trick, as long as it's cocoa powder. Clean it up very well and put this stuff away. We're going to turn on the heat to medium, low, or medium, and we're going to be stirring it. And if you blink, you missed it, but I made the whisk appear out of nowhere. So now I'm going to be stirring this for about 10 minutes or so until it bubbles. And it's very close to bubbling. Always keep an eye on it, and once it's ready and bubbly, you can turn it off. For this recipe, we're going to be using buttermilk. I have my assistant Jack here to assist us, so it'll be half a cup of buttermilk. However, if you don't have buttermilk, but do have regular milk and vinegar or apple cider vinegar, we're going to be making sour milk. So right before you're going to need it, put half a tablespoon, so it's half a tablespoon, not teaspoon, but tablespoon, of vinegar in your measuring cup with the milk, up to the half a cup we're gonna be needing. And remember that it's right before using it. So half a cup, right, Jack? Half a cup. Now it's time for our mixers. So I already opened the 2 eggs that we were going to be using in this recipe, and I have my stand-up mixer ready. So if you have your manual mixer or your arm, get ready. We're going to be pouring the dry ingredients in our bowl. There you go, all our dry ingredients are in. And getting it ready. Remember that your chocolate mix is hot, so be very careful if you're doing a hand mixer or if you're using your arm. So here is our hot chocolate mix, and we're going to be pouring it inside the bowl of our mixer. And all in. Let's use this time to set up our oven. So turn it on to 350 Fahrenheit and start preheating it. In the meantime, as we have our chocolate mix with our dry ingredients, we're going to turn on our mixer to a somewhat low speed, because remember that it's still hot and I don't want you to get splatter in your face. And get the speed a little bit higher as it starts mixing. I have Jack here to make sure that everything looks correct. So once you see that the mix is pretty even and incorporated, we're ready to put the rest of our ingredients. So I have my buttermilk here, or sour milk if that's what you're using. Lower the speed a little bit so that it doesn't splatter. And don't forget to clean out your cup. Now we're going to add the eggs one by one. Make sure that it gets incorporated in the mixture evenly. Jack is here to supervise, and second egg goes in. And last but not least, our vanilla. So it's 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. There it is. So we're going to measure 1.5 teaspoons, making sure that I don't do it outside of the frame. There you go, and I think I got a little bit too much. Perfect. Teaspoon and a half. And that is our last ingredient to go in our mixture. So now that our last ingredient is in, we're going to be mixing for 1 more minute and a little bit higher speed. 1 minute. Jack is going to supervise. Make sure that everything is incorporated, so let's stop our mixer just for a moment and clean the walls of the bowl with your spatula to make sure that anything that is still not mixed in will be mixed. And as you can tell, the mixture is going to be a little bit runny or thin, or very thin and runny. But let's grab the bottom of the bowl to make sure that all of that gets mixed in correctly. And let's mix for the other half of a minute approximately, just a little bit. Now let's get our pan, and this is ready to be put in the oven. So once again, your mixture is going to be a little runny or thin, and we're getting our spatula and our scraper, and let's unhook this to make sure that we get all that in as well. I know some of you will try to lick the batter, that's fine as well, but just remember that you did put raw eggs in it, so be careful. And let's pour our mixture. And since I'm right-handed, I'm sorry that I had to give you the weird angle, but I need to do this to clean the bowl. Now that your oven should be hot at 350, we're going to be putting your brownie in. So be careful when you open the door. Try to do it as slowly as possible because the heat is going to be concentrated inside as a heat bubble, and you don't want to pull it out, leaving your oven again colder. So let's do this slowly and calmly. And in goes the brownie in the middle of the oven. And wish it luck. Bye, brownie. We are going to be putting on our timer 35 minutes. So we're going to check on our brownie in 35 minutes. After our 35 minutes, it's time to check if our brownie is ready. So I'm going to be doing that with my spoon trick. So let's open the oven door slowly and check to see if it's done. The way that it works is that I will press with the spoon in the middle of the cake or the brownie, And if it bounces back, it means that it's cooked thoroughly. It's very spongy. If at any moment it leaves a dent of the spoon, then it needs more time. In this case, everything bounced back, it's perfect, so we're ready to take it out of the oven. So this is how your brownie is going to look after it's done. Very spongy and ready to be covered with your favorite frosting. Guess what? I will share with you one of my favorite frostings. So we're going to be making a chocolate buttermilk frosting. So in our saucepan, we're going to be putting butter, cocoa powder, and buttermilk. So let's do 1/4 cup of butter, which is half a stick. So I will cut my stick and put half of it in the fridge, half of it in the saucepan. Now we're also going to be putting 3 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa powder or cocoa powder. 3 tablespoons. Then the last thing we're going to be putting in our saucepan is 3 tablespoons of buttermilk. So here I have the 3 tablespoon measurement for the buttermilk or sour milk. And let me get my little spatula ready to clean my container. Make sure that all that buttermilk or sour milk goes in our saucepan as well. We're gonna get ready also 2 cups of powdered sugar. I also have here some walnuts for later, and we're going to be putting half a teaspoon of vanilla. So half a teaspoon. Now returning to our saucepan, we're going to keep stirring until the butter is melted and the mixture is even. Once it looks pretty even and melted, we're going to take it off the stove and start adding the powdered sugar. So I'm going to be adding the powdered sugar slowly so that I am able to mix it in evenly, and then add also the vanilla. Once the mixture looks even and your powdered sugar is incorporated in the frosting, you can either add your walnuts if you want your entire frosting with walnuts, or save them later for decoration. It's ready to pour. So here is our very fine looking brownie, and I'm going to be pouring our chocolate frosting in 2/3 of my brownie. And let's spread it and make it as even as possible, while Jack supervises and tells us if we're doing it correctly. Now I'm going to be putting my walnuts in 1/3 of my brownie, so that way I'll have 1/3 of my brownie with walnuts, the other 1/3 with just chocolate frosting, and the last 1/3 is going to be a surprise. And what's going to go here, you ask? You'll see in just a second. Here it is. This is Dulce De Leche, or actually it's arequipe that my mom made. So I put it in the microwave a couple of seconds so that it's more spreadable, and here is our arequipe on the 3rd part of the brownie. This arequipe was made from scratch by my mom, so it's extremely delicious. Yummy. And there you have it. Here's your brownie, so it's just ready for you to cut and serve. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time. Jack, say goodbye. Jack, say goodbye. Over here, say goodbye. Okay, but he says goodbye. Cute little kitty, my special assistant.